Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. Today I am wrapping up the month of October, in which I have read the most of all year. Has been an outstanding reading month. This is to say, I'm gonna put those reads from the least enjoyable to the most enjoyable one, but take it with a pinch of salt because I generally overall loved everything I've read. I've discovered so many new authors, new art, and then spent time with my old beloved ones, and has been honestly such an amazing reading month. I prioritize horror and gritty graphic novels, and that worked out wonders. I think when it comes down to graphic novels and manga, horror or grim dark fantasy are definitely my cup of tea, and this month was brilliant. I will do my TBR at the end as always, and please remember that I don't do synopses in my wrap-ups because I do them in my TBRs. So I'm just gonna power through these. So I'm just gonna tell you what I thought about the graphic novel, my rating, and if you're curious about the synopsis of these, then you can watch my TBR. And spoiler alert, my TBR for November is gonna be a bit more reasonable just because in October I had plenty of time to read, and November is gonna be a bit more hectic life-wise. I don't wanna promise to read that much. And finally, I've put, if there is more than one volume that I've read, I've put them together. Technically, I read between 16 and 17 things, you might have seen from the stats, but I'm just gonna combine them for the sake of a wrap-up because there were not that much distinction between one volume and the other. So yeah, we'll start at number 13. A new discovery. This is Philadelphia. I picked this up at Forbidden Planet. I believe I picked up Forbidden Planet. I'll show you some of the art, and I think I'm gonna show you the art from just this page, so I don't give any spoilers out. This is a horror graphic novel with vampires, and I enjoyed these overall. This is a number 13, but overall I really enjoyed these, and I gave it 3.5 stars. It's a number 13, but still very good. I absolutely loved the art style. It was perfect for a horror graphic novel, and I also really enjoyed the relationship that we had between the main protagonist and his father. I thought that point of the plot were very good. Why this is in last place, if you want, this month is because a couple of things. First of all, I think that the story, the plot in itself is not very new. It was very much I Am Legend, just with vampires inside. And also I think the writing style didn't work for me that well, in the sense I think it tried too much to be gritty, but it felt sometimes a bit cringy. I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes, you know, to do gritty writing, George R. Martin does, just to make an example, it takes skills, and sometimes people try to imitate those kind of writing and it just fails sometimes, or it just feels like redundant. I don't know, it just doesn't feel good. So this is why it's in last place, but I might continue on with this graphic novel. I'm not saying I'm giving up at all. If I find it for cheap, I will definitely continue on, and I might keep this. At number 12, we have The Nice House on the Lake, also a new graphic novel that I wanted to try. Let me see, this is the art. This is a DC comic, Black Label, and this, I would say, this is a horror sci-fi. And I'm gonna touch upon in a second why that was the main issue I had with these. But these, art-wise, stunning, like absolutely stunning. I can't, like, some panels, the art style was amazing. So this is why I sometimes enjoy reading these graphic novels. I still have an amazing time despite me even giving a rating that's not that high, and this is one of the cases. I loved the art so much. The issue I had with these is that initially it seems like it's a horror, fantasy horror, and then it becomes very much a sci-fi post-apocalyptic thing, and then the kind of shift in genre, it kind of left me with a sour taste in my mouth. It was not what I was expecting, and I'm tempted though to continue on. I don't know if you've heard of these, if you've read these, if it gets better, is it worth it? I just had this thing in my mind where I'm tempted to continue on, but I have this prediction that I'm gonna hate it, and then the ultimate twist is gonna be shit. So I don't know, let me know if I should continue on or not. But I gave it 3.5 stars just because, I don't know, I was expecting this kind of haunted house on the lake, horror, almost slasher, and instead it goes very much into sci-fi, and I was just like, well, I don't know, I was left unbalanced. I was left thrown out of the story somehow. But art, amazing, amazing. Bit too many characters to follow, but that's not the main issue I had. So then at number 11, we've got The Promised Neverland. Again, a new manga series I started. I'll show you the art. And I think a theme for this month was what outstanding art in everything I've read. This is a Shonen Jump. And this is again a horror genre, fantasy horror in this case. And I really enjoyed these, as I did say for all the rest of things in this list. But I think because this is a start of a series with manga, it just takes time for things to build up. And this is just to be expected in a lot of manga. And I absolutely loved, as I said, the art. And I think at one point it gets very creepy and interesting, but I still have to warm up to the characters, if it makes sense. I don't know where this is going, and it can either be a win or a fail in a sense. So I don't know, that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. I will definitely continue on. It's just the beginning, if it makes sense. But what art style. At number 10, I've read Remina. Remina is I think one of the least popular Ito. I heard many people criticizing this. This is considered for older teens. It's a manga horror, and I think in this case this is a horror sci-fi manga, but in this case, because I knew going in that it was gonna be a horror sci-fi, I was pleasantly surprised by this, and actually I really enjoyed this, and it will stand up as one of the Ito's works that I will recommend the most, because I actually didn't mind the ending, which sometimes I have issue with Ito's endings. And I think this just was new for me. It's a horror sci-fi, it's very new, brand new, and a lot of the times can be a miss, but in this case I had an amazing time. I really enjoyed the plot, and I think this does an amazing parody, if you want, of, you know, loving idols and having this love for celebrities and how that can be twisted and turned into a very dark thing. I was just fascinated. It's not too long. I was hooked, and I didn't mind the ending, which again with Ito is a big thing. Definitely recommend Remina. I know it's one of the least popular, but I enjoyed it. At number 9, we have The Sandman. Now, I've read 2 volumes of it because I wanted to be able to then watch the TV show, and I know the TV show is an adaptation of the first 2 volumes. So I've read Preludes and Nocturnes and The Dollhouse, and I kind of liked both at the same time. Maybe the second volume, the beginning, when we are told this fantastical story, I loved it a tiny bit more than the first volume, but it's very close to each other. This is a reread for me, so I think I've read up to volume 3 or up to here, I'm not sure. But I didn't love this as much as I loved it the first time I read it. It's definitely more horror-ish than I remembered, and many scenes were lost, so for me it was kind of almost reading it brand new without experiencing before, which was good. It didn't feel like, oh, it's something I've already seen, just a couple of scenes. But what I don't love about The Sandman, and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it, it's the art. And when it comes down to graphic novel and manga, I need to love the art style. And if, you know, and I might grow attached to it by the end, like, you know, the more I read, the more I might grow attached to it. I might just find that it just clicks perfectly. A bit like it happened with Preacher. Like, I don't love Preacher art style, and throughout my journey with Preacher has been one of the main issue I had, because ultimately there are graphic novels where I love the art style and the story so much, and I think if some of those 2 points are missing for me or they don't click with me, just the rating or my overall enjoyment is slightly bit diminished. It's just how it is, it's just how I work. Whether I think if this had another art style, it would come across even more. And this definitely has amazing writing, and I think it's way more whimsical though than I remember, and just it goes into this depth of fantastical words and creatures, and sometimes loses me. So although I really like The Sandman and I read it all, I am not the biggest fan. Like, I wouldn't spend thousands of pounds on it. I don't pull my hair out for it. It's just not something that I like a lot. I just don't ultimately love thus far, I'm just 2 volumes in. I might become a believer by the end. I think there are just 9 volumes out. Now at number 8 we have Lenore. Now Lenore, I started with reading Cuties, which is volume number 3. This is all there is. I think so far nothing else has been put out. This is the art style put out. And then I read volume 3, and then I loved it so much that I went back and read the other 2 volumes. And if I had read just these would be higher up in the list. But I went back and read volume 1. It's called Nudges and Wedges, volume 2, and those weren't as strong. I love the art. When it comes down to this kind of horror comic genre, this art style is just my cup of tea. I just loved it. It's all black and white apart from some parts of the Cutie. Is it Cutie? Yeah, Cuties. And I loved when it actually was colored. I think it just gives so much more. But this was just everything I wanted, and I'm just gonna speak about these for now. I honestly loved. It was so cute, and though the gore was there, and I really loved how the gore was done, how the blood and the guts that came out were done. I thought it was just very much, it wasn't very realistic at all, but I just loved it. And I think when they added color to it, it was just brilliant. I loved this so much that I went on and bought the other 2 volumes, and overall I think the 3rd volume is the best, so it's definitely a build up. But I just had genuine laughs. I love the art so much. I need to copy this on my journaling. Just, it was cute, it was quick, it reminded me of Scotty Young. It's different, it's not the same, but it was kind of the same, but it was this kind of same dark humor. This is more short stories, like you might have like a short panel and it's just like a horror, comic horror short story. So it's definitely a new format for me, but it worked well. It was a perfect Halloween read. And I gave all of them, so I gave the first volume 5 stars, but overall if I had to balance it out, probably would be a 4 stars, because this would be more 3.5 and this is a 5, so I round up to a 4. At number 7, I've got Gyo. Gyo is another Junji Ito. It's the second Junji Ito and last Junji Ito on this list. I read 2 by him, but because they are separate stories, they wouldn't make sense to put them together. There's another horror by him. It's a very famous one, and I think the most famous ones are in these editions, which I hope and I think I've got them all. The ones that are out in this edition. I'll just show you some of the art in case I didn't show you for Remina, because I don't remember, but the art, Junji Ito art is exactly the same always, so not much surprise there. Now these, I love the premise. Like when I was reading these and I looked at what was happening, I thought, this man is a genius. We knew he was a genius, but it's just like, how did you come up with something like this? I was just so fascinated by the just premise of this. It was horror. I think it wasn't one of his worst, but it was very gross and I loved it. I loved how gross this was. Wasn't the biggest fan of the ending, unfortunately, but the premise of this got me so hooked. I just couldn't put this down. I read these in one go. This man sometimes comes up with such wild ideas. I don't know, I gave it probably 4.5 or 4.75. Love this. It's probably my favorite of the ones that came out in these editions. I got the other one behind me. So of those 3, I've loved them all. This is probably my favorite, just of these editions, one. At number 6, we have Fire Punch. This is a series that it's completed. It's by the same author that did Chainsaw Man. So I knew going to this that it was probably gonna be a win. And some of you guys watching this video told me this actually is as brutal as Berserk, and boy was he right. He was right. I was left speechless. This is the same level of grim dark fantasy, brutal, merciless events, and just the word is as Berserk is. So just be warned. I didn't know. It's definitely my kind of story, and I absolutely loved it. I think it doesn't have the same expansion, the same depth or layers or scope that Berserk has. The story feels a bit more contained. However, I have no idea where the story is going so far, so I might be completely wrong. It might be that in 9 volumes they will revolution everything. It feels very daunting reading this, though. I felt like, whoa, like I needed a break, and something that can impact me this much, I'm sold. I'll continue on, but all the warnings I can think of. Like all the warnings I can think of. Number 5, I'm gonna get people mad, but I've got Berserk, guys. The deluxe edition, volume 10. So yes, for the second time in all year, Berserk is not number 1 and it's not even number 2. This contains volume 28, 29 and 30. And please don't take this the wrong way, because ultimately I gave this 4.5 stars. My love for Berserk is forever and ever. Okay, so I am not debating the fact that Berserk is the love of my life. It's been a stable 5 stars, 4.5 stars, stable first every month, and the only reason why this isn't is because I think in this, especially volume 28 and 29, are more calm, are more building up to what's coming next, and definitely things pick up in volume 30. I absolutely love the character of Serpico. I loved what happens in there. It's a ball and very medieval and very, I don't know, with dresses and monsters coming. All of that hooked me. Like volume 30, I just devour, and I can't wait to continue on. So again, please don't take this the wrong way, because I love these. But I think I'm so used to Berserk being high stakes, high tension, and going to the next level, that I've not learned how to relax with it. I've not learned yet to appreciate the more calm moments. Maybe that will come with a reread. But as of now, those volume 28 and 29 felt a bit weaker compared to the others. Volume 30 would be definitely 5 stars, but the ending is a bit brutal, and so that left me a bit thrown off again. But 4.5 stars is Berserk. If you have not read Berserk yet, what you're doing with your life, if you're an adult and you can put up with the trigger warnings. At number 4, we have Something Is Killing the Children, and I think these came so high, first of all because of the art. Like this art style, it's everything. I absolutely love the art, but this was also, and the panels are like dark, it was just the best thing. I think this was also a perfect Halloween read. This was the kind of graphic novels I was looking for to read during Halloween on a stormy evening. I took my time with this, so it took me like around 4 days to read this. It's a chunk because it contains 3 volumes, I believe. But it's majestic, it looks majestic. The art style, the horror in it, this is a horror fantasy, and it was just perfect. The characters, this character here, loved her so much. So higher up in the list because it was the perfect Halloween read, and it was exactly what I was looking for. And although the plot itself reminded me of something, I can't exactly pinpoint what, but it didn't feel that new on certain aspects, and then that's why I didn't give it 5 stars. This is why it wasn't like my ultimate favorite, but this is something that can be easily redeemed by continuing with this plot and new characters being introduced and new things happening. So I'm very much looking forward to the rest of this series, and I think it has a lot of potential to become one of my favorite. They're all stunning. It's good all year round, but for Halloween, chef kiss. At number 3, we've got Chainsaw Man volume 7. I've been loving speaking about Chainsaw for months now, so I'm gonna keep it brief and short. But I think what I loved about this volume is all the new characters that we are introduced. I think the plot has taken a very interesting twist that I don't know how our main characters are gonna come out of that. All the bad guys that are introduced in these are so unique, so peculiar. I am just hooked. I couldn't put this down. This is a 5-star volume, and I think it's the first time I gave Chainsaw 5 stars, although I love it so much. And also the end there is like a huge plot twist, and I'm just like, whoa, like wait, what's happening? And I honestly had to calm down and chill and not reach out for the next volume immediately because I want to pace myself with them, but I was so tempted. 5 stars, loved Chainsaw Man. At number 2, we have Dracula by Alberto Breccia. This is a collection of short stories, horror short stories, but they don't have dialogues. They have some sounds, but they don't have any dialogue. And the art style is something that I've never encountered before, or since then. Well, since then it's just been a few weeks. But I doubt I'll encounter it unless I pick up more by him. this was a perfect read for a stormy nights, a couple of nights before Halloween, and I just had the best time. I gave it 5 stars because I think when you have silent graphic novels, it takes a lot of skills to actually convey your story through, and this managed to be funny at the same time touching because there is the Argentinian revolution in these, so there is a lot of actually brutal things happening in certain short stories, and it just came across. The art style, it's the perfect horrific, grotesque, majestic thing that a horror graphic novel should be. This is what I love sometimes picking up random graphic novels, is because I can discover new art style, new author that do something unique. Like this is something that it's not necessarily revolutionary in the sense of the content, the plot. It's just funny, gritty, dark, but it's just in itself is a gem. It's a unique thing that I've not seen before, and I loved it. I loved it. 5 stars. 5 stars. I want to check out more by the author. And I'm just sad that there is just this with Dracula. Like it's the only collection of short stories with Dracula. He has not done anything else or with this character. But and then number 1, I think we've got one that became immediately a favorite even when I was reading it. When I put this down, I was just like, I'm in love with this. And this is The Me You Love in the Dark by Scotty Young and George Corona. Now, Scotty Young did I Hate Fairyland, which is one of my favorite, ultimate favorite comic graphic novels in terms of humoristic graphic novels. But it's also grim dark, there's a lot of blood in that, and he now put this together. This is a standalone, it's 5 issues, so there is nothing more. This is a spin-off or another series by them, and you know, this is this typical haunted house artist looking for inspiration, going to the haunted house story, horror story. And I mean, why though? Like, why going to a haunted house to find inspiration? Like, the only thing you can get in a haunted house is a heart attack. I don't understand the trope, but this is the trope done perfectly, like perfect. All of a sudden you are in this abusive relationship, and now that's depicted, done, and it was so tasteful, so at the same time harrowing and horror, because it's a horror graphic novel. The art, the message behind what this woman goes through is very, it reminded me a lot of the domestic violence work I've done. I think it's a very good portrait of an abusive relationship. It's just done in this kind of metaphor with a horrific twist that I just found brilliant. This is a 5 stars, is a favorite one. If you've not checked this out and you like horror and you like Scotty Young, you want to try it, like there is no critique, like 0, perfect. Like if you ask me about perfection, a lot of things I've read this month were perfections, to be fair. I'm gonna go into the TBR part now, but guys, such an amazing, all the things on here I would recommend. Like honestly, such a stunning, my favorite month thus far. Yeah, stunning. Maybe I would add these to probably, you know, when I was reading some arcs of Berserk as favorite months, but here, while Berserk wasn't the strongest, I loved so much all the rest, and also Berserk, that it felt like such a fulfilling month of reading. Okay, quickly, in the TBR for November. So I'm just gonna, nothing too exciting for now. I just wanna continue on with a lot of series that I'm in the middle of. So I'm gonna continue on with the Sandman. This is volume 3. I'm just gonna now cut down on the volumes I read, meaning that I will read 1 volume a month and not more, so I can more analyze the single volume better. This is Dream Country, and the Sandman is basically this bunch of men that decide that they don't want to die, so they decide to capture death and live forever. But instead of capturing death, they ended up capturing Morpheus, the god of dreams, for a few years. He escapes finally, but people, their dreams, their nightmares are all messed up, and it's a very, it just spreads so farther from the initial plot, but it's basically a dark fantasy, very mysterious, very whimsical, but at the same time it's a horror. Sorry if you hear squeaking, it's my chair, like the chair is horrible. I need to continue on with Chainsaw volume 8. I need to, like, I can't not continue on with Chainsaw. And this is, I don't want to know what, oh, this is a body. Oh, I don't know, like, can you see this? Chainsaw is the story of this boy. He's been abandoned as a child and he's grown up with his pet demon dog and just doing odd jobs for the mob, just to survive. He lives in this basically rotten shed at the beginning. He has literally nothing, uneducated, just living day by day, and then one day he is set up by his mafia boss and something horrible happens to him and his life is changed forever. And in this society there are demons, and some demons are used to fight other demons. It's kind of like, I always see like as a very dark, very not sci-fi but grim dark fantasy Men in Black. I don't know how to explain it. I'm also continuing with Vinland Saga. I don't know, I've read the first one in August, I think, the first volume, and since then it's been stuck in my mind and I just wanted to continue on. So I will. Sorry, some of these I've not shown you the art, but because I spoke with them about them in the wrap-up section. So Vinland Saga is a very lengthy manga series, and it's a story of this boy whose father, he's a Viking. He is forced basically to go back and fight when he had to retire. He didn't want to. Then something happens to his father, so this boy now has to live and grow with enemies of his family, and there is a lot of conflict between him wanting to revenge his family and then him at the same time having grown up with these men and just learned a lot from them and so forth. Sorry guys, the sun came out and I am blind, but I will then read Berserk volume 11. I still have to order it just because I'm trying to find the cheapest website where to find it new. And so yeah, I'll order these and hopefully it will arrive in time. And I never gave a synopsis for Berserk because I thought it was so popular that it doesn't really need it, but this is a grim dark fantasy, and at the beginning, the very first volume, you are basically following this man who you know has been tortured and now is upon this path of looking for revenge of the people that tortured him. And it's a very medieval style grim dark world, and all content warning that you can imagine of are in Berserk, so just be aware. Then I am gonna read volume 14, the second to last volume in the Fable saga. This is a very lengthy urban fantasy saga. It's a graphic novel, and it's basically, imagine if all the fables, the Disney fable that we are used to, are now in New York, living in New York at the beginning of this series, because they had to escape Fairyland due to some bad guy taking over, and now you're following their basically political intrigue, love interests, and you follow a lot of characters, and you follow different subplots and so forth. It's been a long journey. I'm almost there, I'm almost finished, but it's been amazing, and a lot of times you got guest artists which are breathtaking. Second to last, I'm gonna continue on with Spy Family. I found volume 3 for a reasonable price, so I'm gonna continue on, and this is a fantasy series. I think it's considered low fantasy. And it's basically the story of this man who is a spy and needs to infiltrate a prestigious school in order to access some people that he needs to spy upon, or I don't know, something of the sort. And in order to do so, he needs to put together a fake family. So he fake marries this woman who turns out she's an assassin, and he also adopts a child, and she's telepathic. No one knows about the other apart from the telepathic child, who she knows well. She knows everything because she can read their thoughts. It's been hilarious so far. I've been loving it. We all have been loving Spy Family, don't we? I know there is an anime. I'll get around to it as soon as I finish these. Although it might take time because I tend to either read the manga or watch the anime, or maybe just take some time between the two. And finally, I want to continue on with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This is volume 2 of the Phantom Blood saga. I'll show you some of the art. JoJo is a very complex manga series to explain. It's a very large series where you have different stories that you follow. So in this case, we are following Dio Brando. In the first volume, his adoptive brother is up to no good, and so is him initially trying to get along with his adopted brother, and then ultimately realizing that he's the evil guy, the bad guy, and there is like a fantasy subplot of some item that they will find that has magic. And I really had fun with these. I think it's doesn't take too much brain power. It's just something that I read very quickly and it was entertaining and I wanted to continue on. So that's all I've read and want to read next. Let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite read of the month, and as always leave your recommendations, and yeah, let's chat in the comments down below. If you're new, I would love for you to subscribe, so please hit the button down below. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Ciao!